Hey, welcome to the Sales Squad Pod, the show that breaks down the skills sellers need to crush quota and advance their career. Hosted by Lisa, a top enterprise AE, Sarita, a frontline leader, and Donna, a former leader of leaders. We met in the sales trenches at Salesforce. We're moms, we've carried a bag for decades, we've gone to club, and we've got you. If you're ready to uplevel your game and career, let's jump into it.
Welcome back, Sales Squad Pod. I am delighted for this episode because it's all about getting a fast start. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to jump right into it. I think every AE sales leader, second line sales leader, is always looking to figure out ways to be more efficient. And so I want to talk today kind of part book club review, part playbook. I want to talk about this book, Atomic Habits. I'm holding it up for those that aren't watching on video. It is a book by James Clear. It has sold 20 million copies worldwide, and there is a reason for it. There is so much gold in this book, and what I want to do is take that knowledge and apply it to our world of sales.
Yeah, I love this book. It's I read it probably when I first started actually at Salesforce. It had just recently come out, and a lot of what's in that book is how I started to operationalize myself to get ready for just crushing the year.
Love it. It is an oldie but a goodie. So for those that have not read it, in a nutshell, Atomic Habits is really about how small, consistent behaviors compound over time. And that's what leads to remarkable results. It's really about the systems and the daily habits that you have in place that you set in order to hit your ambitious goals. Systems to me is the core of this book because it breaks down your goals into component parts. So let me give you an example. Let's say your goal is to build more pipeline. So your systems are your daily habits that you will have to hit your goal. And so if you want to build more pipeline and prospect, there are things you can do, like before you leave the office and you log off for the day, spend 5 minutes to set up your book for what you're going to do tomorrow. Have the tab on your computer browser open to the list that you're going to call in the morning. Have your 20 names, make them visible. Put a sticky on your keyboard, cue up the dialer, leave your headset on the keyboard. All these things that essentially prime you to do the thing that you want to do. I'm curious, ladies, do you guys have systems that you use on the regular?
So for the really, really successful reps on my team, there's a couple of things that stand out to me. They have a daily plan. I want to hit, for example, a minimum number of X amount of calls, X amount of LinkedIn connects, X amount of emails. And their trick is that they don't wait until the specific day to come up with this plan. This plan has already been in process, and they do small things every single day to reach it without excuses. The great thing about this is that the plan can be simple, and that is the key. Don't overcomplicate it, make it simple, and be able to meet those goals on a regular basis, even when things get difficult, even when everything goes crazy because of a deal went sideways. They're still able to meet those goals.
Today, I want to talk about three aspects in particular. Number one, the importance. To your point, Sarita, you need a plan. Get clear on your goal and what it's going to take to get there, number one. Number two, the secret to motivation and finding the motivation when there is none, really. And lastly, how to actually build good habits and make sure you are setting yourself up for success. So let's start with this idea of getting clear on the goal and the path to get there. So the reality is goals don't mean as much as systems. And the reason is, for example, in sales, everyone has a goal to hit or exceed quota. Everyone has the same goal, but not everyone is going to hit that goal. So what it comes down to are the systems and the processes you have in place. I always like to think about who is the type of person that goes to club year after year. What are they doing and what are they focused on every day? There's someone who I always think about when it comes to top performer. His name's Ryan McCone. Shout out Ryan, based in San Francisco. And he always, every day, would be on the phone. He would walk up and down the aisles on the phone, getting to know his customers. I think that set him apart.
Think about the person who is methodical. We all know motivation can be really high, motivation can fall. And especially when you're in a rut in sales, we all get there. You're not having the best quarter. You just continue to get down on yourself. And so what I've done now is I make sure that there are numbers in place. When I moved to enterprise, there was no longer you need to make 50 calls and you need to do, it's a different world. And so if you don't have those systems in place, then you can just run on vibes. And who doesn't make it to club? People who are just running on vibes when vibes are there, and vibes aren't always there. So the way that I set up my day is I do actually make sure that I'm hitting numbers. What does my outreach look like? How many emails am I sending? I try to really break it down. And so at the end of the day, I could say, did I hit or did I miss? And it no longer comes down to, was I feeling it or was I not? Like, it becomes now, was it a failure or was it successful? And failure to me, which is like most type A personality people, is a word that you do not want to associate yourself with. So I have to break it down. And I kind of went back into a mid-market role for myself to make sure that like these numbers are still being hit.
Absolutely. Lisa, what I find over and over again is that the average seller, the ones that are the B players, in my opinion, they obsess over the quota, they spike their effort in Q4, and they essentially get burnt out because they're not doing exactly what you're talking about. They're not taking the opportunity to have those daily and weekly systems in place. Whether or not they're being tracked by leadership, that's another conversation. But your own personal goals need to have that obsession essentially over those daily and weekly systems. For example, 10 new accounts researched per week, maybe 5 meaningful multi-threads per day, maybe a weekly pipeline hygiene, a monthly win-loss review, whatever it may be. I mean, these are sort of high-level things I'm speaking about, but the ultimate goal is that the A players on my team trust their system, they trust their process, and the results essentially take care of themselves.
And I start my systems on Sunday. Donna, we talked about this prior to coming on the podcast, where I start my system Sunday night. Is I get into bed, the kids are asleep, I open up my laptop. I am a big fan of not opening up my laptop on the weekends, but Sunday, right before I go to sleep, it helps me sleep better. I make sure all my stuff is organized for Monday morning.
I'm not a Sunday night gal. I'm a Friday afternoon gal, but that's okay. It doesn't matter. Whatever it is, I think the point being, before you sit down at your desk, you know what you're doing. I think there's two elements for me. Number one, how are you spending your time and who are you spending your time with? Let me talk about the first. How you're spending your time. I think if you actually took a look at your calendar, Lisa, and I took a little bit of a snapshot of what you're spending your time on, I bet it would be a reflection of your priorities. And so this is important because how you're spending your time is ultimately going to get you to your goals. And what you repeat and what you're doing every day is what you're reinforcing. So you have to be very, very judicious on how you're spending your time. The other thing is we all have, a meeting that gets wiped from our calendar last minute or a meeting that ends 5 minutes early. Woohoo! Like, praise be. What are you doing when you have 5 minutes extra? Are you doing the back and forth Slack, messaging your buddy? Are you going to get a coffee? Or are you, to Sarita's point, you have a goal today of 10 connects? Are you just going to try to hit one in 5 minutes? Is that your goal? In our workday, we only have so many hours a day that's our time. When it comes to team meetings, forecast calls, one-on-ones, those are meetings that are baked in our calendar and we don't have control over. We only have control over a few set of hours in a day and in a week. And those hours are what is going to move the needle. Are your calendars reflective of your priorities?
Oh, yes, absolutely. I think you can't just, like you said, rely on the motivation, and you need something to prompt you. Have you calendar blocked for prospecting? I ask my reps all the time, if I look at your calendar, I should see at least an hour a day of just blocked for prospecting, not just a calendar hold that you're going to ignore, but a calendar hold that you're going to say, listen, I'm going to spend this 1 hour. My Slack or my Teams is going to be on mute. I'm going to have dedicated focus time specifically for this thing because it is something that is going to contribute towards my goals. Make the right behavior the default. And I think that calendar blocking, for example, is a great way to do this for prospecting specifically. But the key for me is just designing the environment in which you need to work as opposed to just relying on the motivation.
Yeah, fair enough. The other piece is who are you spending your time with? There's an expression I love. If you surround yourself with clowns, don't be afraid to find yourself in a circus. So, if you're going to surround yourself with folks that are unmotivated, lack process, lack ambition and structure, aren't hitting their goals, keep missing their next steps, though that type of persona, that is not the person you want to align to. You want to hang out with the Ryan McCones of the world. You want to surround yourself with others who have similar mindsets. It's just like if you are going to lose weight or you want to lose weight, I want to hang out with Sarita, who does CrossFit and is motivated every morning, and she's going to get my butt into gear to get to the gym. I am not going to hang out with someone who believes that sitting on the couch and eating bonbons is the way to go. And so who you surround yourself with is important. I'm curious if either of you guys have your own version of that person in your life that motivates you and drives you to aim for more.
Two things. One, my husband is like a yogi master. This guy, if you want to talk about systems, this guy meditates twice a day. He has breathing for 10 minutes. Like, he is just like the be all end all of somebody who has created a life around systems. It is beautiful to watch. And I truly believe that I have elevated myself just being around him. When it comes to work, there's a guy that goes to club every year that we work with. And we have gong at my current workplace. And so I start my morning every day, 9 o'clock, with this guy who probably doesn't know I exist. And I listen to his calls every day. And I put on my makeup listening to his calls because I know that I want to surround myself with people who are making that amount of money. And that's one of the things that I started to incorporate into my daily routine because I was like, when I think of success, I think of someone who's methodical. I think of someone who gets on the phones. He always has updated meetings. And let me tell you, I can tell you about all of them. So I really try, even in this environment where we are in a virtual world, I really try to surround myself with smart people, and I find their calls and I listen to them.
That is so sneaky and so amazing. And the fact that he doesn't need to know that you're listening. I think that's amazing that you have taken the opportunity to leverage the technology in order to better yourself.
The piece that stands out for me is that master of small wins. A lot of times people focus so much on the larger goal that they forget about the small wins. I think about your CRM always being clean. I think about your next steps always being scheduled. Your call notes are written. Your follow-ups for the same day. Your champions are nurtured between cycles. These, what I would call the basics, are not heroics, but just compounding those 1% improvements. So while I can't call out somebody specific because a lot of reps on my team emulate a lot of this, what I will call out is the small habits and the master of small wins are the type of people that I like to surround myself with because I also like to enjoy the small wins as well. It keeps us going every day. And from a leader's perspective, it keeps me motivated because if you're excited about the small win, so am I. So when that large win comes and when you are going to President's Club, I'll be there to celebrate with you.
I love it. And it actually leads me to the second aspect of this, which is about motivation. And the small wins that you're talking about, that is the crux of the atomic in Atomic Habits. How do you break down your goals into such small, achievable steps that no matter where your motivation level is, you will be able to hit it? So instead of saying, I'm going to call 50 customers today, maybe it's I'm going to call one customer today. And no matter where I am on my energy levels, no matter what, I am going to be able to hit one customer a day. And then after 6 weeks of calling one customer a day, maybe now it's going to be two customers a day. And being able to take these small goals and then, to your point, keep consistent and have those results compound, that is where you get the results. And the reality is motivation is something that we think, oh, it's going to come. Some days I'm motivated, some days I'm not. But the reality is motivation actually comes after you take action. You need a bit of momentum. So Sarita, to your point about small wins, you need to be able to feel like you are making some forward progress, and then the motivation comes to keep going. Lisa, what are some of the things that you do to keep going even when your motivation's low?
There is nothing more motivating to me than when I can put in an hour of deep work in my opportunities. And these are the basics, but I can tell you that for me, a light went off when I finally started doing it. Is I sat down, I sat in my opportunities, and I said, how am I going to move this opportunity forward? So small, but it's one move, and I've pushed it closer to a close. And now I'm motivated because I've got a little fire over here. And now if I can move on to that second opportunity and say, okay, this one's stalled, but who in this organization don't I know? Let's send them a message. Let's create another fire. And so to me, when I can sit down and do that deep work, it's so exciting. I feel like that 1 hour is just compounded over the next day, the next couple of days when responses start coming back. I just think that dedicating that amount of time, it to me, I'm like, yes, this is amazing. I'm amazing. And I'm going to move all of these deals forward, and I got all these fires, and you know what? There's going to be like a bomb that's going to go off because something is going to happen out of this work, and it just starts with one. So I completely agree that it's just like that the motivation creates more motivation.
Yeah, and you are amazing, girl.
I was about to say the exact same thing, Donna. I was like, you are amazing, Lisa. Yes, absolutely.
This is
I
part
think
book club, part pumping your tires.
I
So
love it.
it's a good episode. Sarita, were
all
you
of
going to say something?
Yes, I would love to touch a little bit on what you're saying, Lisa, because you are the personality or the byproduct of your identity, which is that you are the kind of seller who runs a tight process every day. And this is what leaders are looking for. When, as a hiring manager, this is the type of personality or the type of person, the type of seller that I'm looking for. You follow up, you prospect even when your pipeline is full, you preview your deals weekly. We know where everything is at in your opportunity no matter what. So if you're away, your leader can step in. I know that for a fact, because you're not just trying to hit club. You know that you're going to hit club because it's ultimately a byproduct of those little things that you're doing every single day. And so, yes, to tether on to what you just said, you are amazing because you run a tight process every single day.
Send this episode to your boss, Lisa. There you go. Okay, so if we have convinced you that you need better habits and we've convinced you that systems are the way that you are going to hit your goals, then the last thing I want to talk about is how do you actually build good habits and how do you make habits stick? And so this is the theory part that comes into the Atomic Habits book from James Clear. He talks about 4 steps. Number 1, you need a cue. You need to make it obvious. Number 2, you need to make it attractive. 3, make it easy, and 4, make it satisfying. And let me walk you through how I did this in my role when I was an AE. I ended up being, in my rookie year, the #1 AE in my division that year. And people always ask me, how did you do it? What was your secret? And my #1 thing that I said was, I went and I saw my customers. I was based in San Francisco. I had a 2-year-old, but I was flying to Kansas so often that the stewardesses, or sorry, the flight attendants on that flight started to recognize me, people. That is when you know you are in market enough. Okay, so #1, making it obvious. This is where you're trying to design your environment so the trigger to the habit is actually visible. For me, I was very methodical on when I was traveling. Because I have a 2-year-old, because my husband is also working, I purposely would target the first week of every month for a trip to Kansas. And I knew when it was happening, my family knew when it was happening, and also my BDR knew when it was happening as well. And so because that consistency happened month over month, I knew it was going to happen and I was able to build around that. The second part about making it attractive, pair the habit with something you enjoy or reframe it. For me, I tried to make some sort of event, whether it's a nice dinner, sports event, concert, whatever, something to bring my customers together every time I went out. That was the fun aspect for me, and it made me want to go to Kansas. And I've been to a lot of restaurants in Kansas now, friends. So hit me up if you need recommendations. #3 was about making it easy. This is about reducing friction and making that first step small enough for you to hit regardless of motivation. So my goal every time was just to meet with 2 customers each trip. I would book that flight, as soon as I had 2 customer meetings booked, and it could just be a coffee chat. It was so attainable. But you know what happened? I'd get that first coffee chat in the books, and then bigger meetings would happen thereafter. But because I had that consistent schedule, and because my BDR knew I was going to be there, it created this compelling event. And it gave her a reason to call my customers, book meetings, get things going for me. The last piece about make it satisfying. This is where you're tracking your progress, you're celebrating your wins. It's that satisfaction, the dopamine hit of seeing progress. I tracked my meetings in person specifically, and I knew how much of my pipeline was coming from customers that I met with in person. I'm curious if you guys have examples of those steps that you've done to make habits stick.
I'm so jealous that I don't have that system, Donna. So easy. I know I need to get in territory once a month for that to be successful in my eyes. The fact that I don't do it the second week of every month or something along those lines and keep it consistent, that would be so much better for my family, so much better for my BDR, so much better for my own organization. And I always say this to you, after we get off of these podcasts or I'm editing the podcast, I'm always like, oh, even I learned. But this is something that's going to happen now, where I will say, I know I'm going to be in Chicago the second week in March. And now I'm going to be somewhere else the second week in April and the second week in May. What a simple addition to the systems that I already have, and to make sure that everybody knows where I'm going to be that second week. So thank you for that.
You're welcome. And
Yeah.
you know what, Lisa, you're the kind of person that I have no doubt you learned this. I gave you a little tip. You're going to actually action it because I know you. And that's what makes you great. Sarita, anything to add?
Yeah, from a leader's perspective, I would say that all of what you said certainly resonates with me. Where my role comes into play now, it's a lot about inspecting what I expect. And as a leader, it took me a long time to realize that this is an important piece of the role of we all have certain expectations when it comes to what we are doing on a regular basis. But the most important part about the leadership space is to understand that you also, while you expect it, you do still need to inspect it to make sure that it's actually happening. As long as you have built the systems in place, right? We're talking about falling to the level of our systems. As a leader, you want to make sure that you're also making it easy for your reps to build their systems, that they understand about calendar blocks for outbounding, the account planning, the shared templates, the talk tracks, and you've made it easy, that minimum activity standards. They understand what the requirements are. But as the leader, you need to make sure that you are in a position to inspect and make sure it's happening, so that in your one-on-ones, during the coaching opportunities, you can ask 3 simple questions. You can work through simple conversations to really get an idea of what's stuck, what are you losing, what's one skill we're improving on this month. But really the trick is, it's not randomness, it's not vibes, it's really about those systems. So I love this conversation because it's helping me to understand more about what puts into place on a regular basis and making sure my systems are in place. So after this call, I'm actually going to take another look at my calendar to make sure that my systems are the way they should be.
I think the episode title should be "It's Not Vibes," maybe. I love it. Thanks, ladies, for this conversation. We talked about 3 things. We talked about number 1, getting really clear on your goals, what it's going to take to get there, auditing your schedule, and the people you're surrounding yourself with to make sure they are on track and they're aligned with your priorities. Number 2, the secret to motivation is starting with small wins. Set the goals that you know you're going to hit on your worst day, and you will find the motivation comes when you get that momentum. And lastly, build good habits. Think about ways to make it attractive, to make it obvious, to make it easy and satisfying to attain. And as a result, you'll find yourself with processes like my process, getting out to Kansas every month. And I have no doubt you'll be on your way to club in no time.
Thanks for joining us for another episode of the Sales Squad Pod. We're building a community of serious sellers and leaders who want to operate at the next level, and we're glad you're part of it. If you found value in today's conversation, we would love to hear from you. Send us questions you'd like us to tackle in future episodes, and whether you're listening on Apple or Spotify, be sure to hit like, follow, and subscribe so you don't miss an episode. You can also find us on Instagram and YouTube at Sales Squad Pod.